over to you.
Yes, we are friends. We've been friends for, oh my God, a long time. I'll give away our age if I tell you how long.
Yeah, at least a decade.
At least a decade. But yeah, we met when we were at uni and we were both working the same part-time job. So we worked at Red Bull. We were the girls driving the little Red Bull cars with the cans on the top.
Oh, you were those girls.
We were those girls.
Great.
Yes. But it was the best. It was A, it was so much fun, and B, we learned so much about marketing because back then Red Bull was such a disruptor in the industry and they really involved us in all aspects of marketing, from brainstorming to customer segmentation.
Also, there weren't that many of you at the time.
No.
There was maybe 12,
Oh,
15 wings girls. That's what we were called. And they were really like tactical. Like they would pick people from different communities so that they could reach different areas of Melbourne.
Yeah, very clever.
And then everyone had some kind of marketing or creative leaning, and then they'd bring us together for brainstorm. So you were actually always contributing to the ideas that you'd see Red Bull bring to life, whether it be here or then the idea would go through headquarters and they'd do it in like France or something. So it was pretty cool.
So cool. I love that idea of like empowering young people, like that they also have great ideas, because like who cares who comes up with a good idea? Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So do you guys feel like you learn more? Were you studying marketing, did you say?
I was studying journalism.
Okay.
I did arts commerce and I was doing one of my majors in marketing, which is it's very theoretical. I don't think you learn much until you really get out in the real world.
Totally. And that's what I was going to say. Like, do you feel like you learn more at uni, or do you feel like you learn more on the job, like working with Red Bull?
Yeah. On the job, problem solving. I think you learn tons of like analytical skills at university that you are not thankful for until like 10 years later. And you're like, oh, I can do that because I was forced to write essays over and over and over again.
So true. Yeah, totally.
We were just talking about that like earlier this week. We spoke at something for RMIT and they were like chatting to us about what we learned. And I feel like everything we kind of came out with was that like analytical side. Yeah. And then like the running your own business, like working on the go. That's just like, you learn it as you go.
Totally.
From the mistakes.
Yes. You just problem solve on the fly. There's stuff you can't learn anywhere because you don't know it's a problem until you're like in the middle of it trying to fix it. So that's just our life all the time.
Yeah.
So what has been the wildest day that you have had since starting Frank? Or moment, if you can't think
Is there
of
like
a
a crazy like moment that comes to mind? Like maybe it was like a massive problem that you had to like all get together and solve.
or just something where you were like, holy shit, is this my work? This is so fucking cool.
Oh, so many.
So many swear words in one question.
Sorry.
Okay, I remember the day Ariana Grande went from being one of our biggest fans and advocates to launching her own coffee scrub and copying the product, and that went into retail stores everywhere. We haven't really talked about that one much, but I'm like, everyone hears all the like happy things all the time, and I'm like, that was weird because I'm like, she's gonna crush us.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, when that happens, you're just like, oh, we are nothing. She is everything.
Yeah.
She's got our whole business now. We might as well just shut
It's
up
just like,
shop.
let's just go home, guys. No, that didn't go so well for her. So I don't think it even exists anymore. I think she went back to more of the fragrance stuff.
Okay.
That was a really weird day when you're like, all right, it's me versus Ariana Grande. Let's do this.
Yeah. You're
But
like,
kind of
can
cool
we do
that
this?
cool like that you can say you're in the same like something as Ariana Grande, I guess.
Totally.
And sounds like you beat her, so
Well,
you guys won Ariana Grande 0.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she's good doing her own things, like making albums and stuff
Yeah,
like
she's
that.
pretty good at that.
Yeah, exactly. So we know a bit about.
We only heard one
No,
story.
you missed mine.
Sorry.
I'll say something positive. Just
Go for it. Balance me out.
Counteract.
I'm going to say probably when we went to Mecca Maxima here in Australia, and we went to Mecca, which is this store we've been shopping at since forever, and somewhere that we really wanted to be in. And Frank was on the windows. We had a gondola, and it was just one of those pinch yourself moments.
Oh, how cool is
so
that? And what's a
cool.
gondola?
A gondola. So a lot of what's lucky about Frank is obviously we're skincare, but we like to bring the energy and the fun of colour cosmetics. And so often the gondolas, they're the main sections in the middle of the store. So instead of being on the sides in skincare, we were in there with the colour cosmetics in the middle of the store on, I don't know how to
Like
describe
those
it.
bays that all of
Yeah.
the products are
Sitting
sitting
front.
It's like
sitting
a
there.
floating boat in the middle of the
Exactly.
store, hence
Exactly.
gondola. That's funny.
Exactly. So we were there. So it was a really good position, and they were really supportive for us. And that was just amazing to see people physically buying your product in real life.
Because you've been
before that-
online for so long.
Yeah, and you don't get that same rush from seeing Shopify sales tick over as you do from seeing someone literally pick something up off the shelf, read the packaging, smell it, put it in their basket and go to the counter.
Yeah, I reckon
So cool.
that's what you guys will notice as
Yeah.
you push into retail more. like we were creeps. We would go stand in Mecca and Urban Outfitters, like near our stand, and I'd just wait for someone to come over and they'd start picking it up. I'm like, hi. How'd you find it? And like you just learn a lot, and like you can see what people pick up and put down and what they are and aren't interested in. So
totally. Yeah, we recently did a pop-up at David Jones Chadstone, and it like in the entrance on the shoe floor, we had these like metal pink dome cloche things so that people could kind of pick up, and we were launching our sneaker, which we call the sneaky, so it was we're up to something sneaky so they could look underneath it.
Oh, that's cool.
And when we conceptualize these ideas, by the way, we always reference Frank, and like, you know, you guys like push the boundaries completely with that stuff, but we were totally standing in the corner. We were those creeps the entire weekend, and we were just like watching little kids and adults and everyone picking them up and looking underneath
and it also kind of meant that we got to hear the other side of it. So like I remember like one day I would be like standing in the corner waiting for people to say all these awesome things, and sometimes like I remember this one little girl was like, oh, those shoes are so pretty, and her mum was like, no they're not, they're disgusting. So it's kind of funny seeing it in person as well, because you don't really hear the other side of that, where I mean sometimes we do on like Insta comments or whatever, but that's also a really funny thing, that in person we get to hear those horror stories as well. So we know so much about the Frank story and how you guys started, but it's so cool. So we would love you to share that with us today.
Oh, yeah. We could tell you about that.
Do you want to start?
Yeah. So it starts even before Frank Body. It starts with the first business that Bree and I launched together with Ari, and that's Willow and Blake, and we've still got that business. So it's a full service branding agency. And at the time we were really just focused on copywriting, tone of voice development, and a lot of social campaigns. So I don't know if you guys remember Jelly Bean Sandals?
Yeah.
Okay. So Christian, who was a friend of ours, calls us and he's like, I've ordered 20,000 pairs of Jelly Bean Sandals. Like, how the fuck am I going to sell these?
But the adult ones.
Yeah, the ones for adults.
Yeah.
You can't just put them on tiny feet. So we worked with him coming up with a campaign, and this was, I reckon, like 8 years ago, something like that. Right when Instagram was launching, and we were using Instagram and Facebook and like photos of your feet, and it was all like selfie-based UGC, and that kind of took off, and he sold through all 20,000 pairs of shoes.
Oh my God.
That's amazing.
And like obviously he was doing a lot of great work with his team there as well. And so we started seeing a lot of success on this idea of utilizing social in a way that brands weren't at the time. Like it just wasn't the done thing.
8 years ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. And we always had clients come to us asking for bold and risky ideas. That was what we liked to do at Willow. We're, I guess, somewhat esoteric. For us, we just don't want to pump out the same work that people have already seen before. And clients came to us knowing that that's what they were getting, but then when they would see that idea, they were often scared. And they'd ask us to dial it back, or they'd be like, here's our competitor, can you just do this? And we had no interest in doing that. So for myself and Bree and Ari, it was really about a creative challenge. And our two business partners, Steve and Alex, were really looking to move into the product space. So we were all in service-based industries, and I guess there was a limit in terms of scalability. So now I'm going to hand over to Bree to tell you the story about how the product actually came to be, because we've gone through like 6 months of brainstorming pretty average ideas until one day Steve came to us with the idea for the coffee scrub.
Yeah, so Steve, who is our co-founder and also my husband and baby daddy, he had a cafe in Port Melbourne called Station Street Trading Co. He also had one called Tall Timber, which I believe you guys used to come into.
I used to go to both of those. I didn't realise he had Station Street as well.
So nice. So yeah, these ladies came into Station Street Trading Co. and they asked for the old coffee grinds. And they told Steve they were using it as a body scrub. And he's obviously very entrepreneurial. And I think particularly when he was behind the coffee machine, he had a lot of time to think.
Yeah.
And so they left, and he just was like, that idea kind of kept ticking over. And obviously we'd been talking about this product that we wanted, and we had a few different categories that we were looking in. And the natural skincare space was one that really appealed to us. A lot of people were conscious of what they're putting in their bodies and what they were eating. We were really conscious of that. And so it made sense to us that people would start to think about what they were putting on their skin.
So at the time, were those women that came in, like, were they total hippies? Like, was that like not a done thing that you would put coffee on your skin?
They were like 50-year-old women, and they told him they were using it to treat like cellulite, stretch marks. It was one of those old wives' tales.
Cool.
They've been doing it for years, and it was just common. And yeah, actually had a really good relationship with them. People have often asked us, they're like, have they ever come back and been like tapping on the window?
Yeah.
Like, where's our share?
Yeah.
No, they haven't.
One of the things we discovered as we worked through it was that using the recycled grinds isn't at all the right way to do it, because the key property in the coffee that does things like target stretch marks and that is the caffeine. And the caffeine's in the cup of coffee, and then you just basically got these grinds, which are great for exfoliation, but there wasn't really any added benefit. So
there you go. Those women didn't know where it was at anyway.
Exactly.
They have no claim to this concept at all.
And we source our coffee specifically to have a really high caffeine content, because that's what's the active ingredient. And so we don't use Arabica coffee, which is what you'd normally find in a cafe. We use Robusta coffee, so it would actually taste terrible if you were to use it in a coffee, but it's amazing as a body scrub.
Can you ever get like a high, if you like a caffeine high, if you use enough of it on your skin?
Good question. I don't know.
Someone should do that as like a YouTube challenge.
Yeah, we should. So anyway, very typical startup story. We literally got the coffee from the cafe. We got sea salt and sugar from our kitchen cupboard. We got oils from the bathroom cupboard and mixed it all up on the kitchen table. And we each took home these little doggy bags and got in the shower and tried it and made a huge mess. But you have this moment, and I think what's so nice about Frank is everyone has the same experience, or a type of experience where they're like, oh, what's this going to be like? It's a bit messy. It kind of looks like it's coffee. But then when you use it, you're like, wow, my skin feels incredible. This actually works. And it's not like you have to use it 5 times. You get that feeling straight away. Like as soon as you walk out of the shower, your skin feels like silk. You've got this light sheen. You feel awesome. And that's a really fundamental part of our brand, is making babes feel great. And that's what the product does. So pretty early on, we're like, okay, there's something in this. If we like it, that means other people might like it. So Jess, Erica and myself really took the lead on the brand and the marketing side, and the boys really focused on the dirty work, so the logistics and the operations and how the hell we were going to find all the ingredients for that, which at the time meant going down to Coles and bulk buying salt and sugar.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That is really a startup story.
It was true startup. It was like mixing in big pots, and then we upgraded to this tiny cement mixer that we called Frank the Tank. So someone would just be on like rotating duties, and then you'd be like pouring it into a bag, you'd be labeling, and there'd just be bottles of wine and pizza and a TV screen.
Oh my God.
It was not glamorous
sounds
at all.
fun.
Yeah, that
It
sounds
was
like
fun.
so much fun.
It was fun.
Like we had all of our friends and our family, like my parents-in-law literally would run the day shift.
Oh my God. That's
And they were like
amazing.
so strict.
Yeah.
I think what's really funny is that, like, you said it's like a typical startup story, and it is, and I feel like it has this whole other side to it though that most startup stories don't, which is like, it's usually, so we found this really cool products and then we started selling it on eBay and then it just took off from there. Whereas you guys, and like, I want to hear if this is kind of what you attribute a lot of your success to, is that you had this whole other side that you girls are so good at, which is like the brand, the tone of voice, the name and all of that. So which one kind of came first in that? Like, had you already kind of conceptualized this idea for a brand? You were just waiting for the right product to pair it with?
Did Frank already exist, being like who he is and like, the tone that people see on your Instagram now? Was that already something that you were just waiting to figure out what he did?
It's funny you say that, because I had totally forgotten this part. We were talking about it the other day, and maybe like 6 months or a year before, we've been working with a client that had a soap that they were trying to rebrand. And so we came up with this rough concept around Let's Be Frank and how we could kind of turn that into something a little bit more fun, because the brand was a little bit dull and looking to dial it up. But they were scared of the idea and it never went through and blah, blah, blah. And then all we really knew was that we wanted to do something marketing to women of a similar age to us and similar interests, because it's like, there's no easier way to market than to yourself, because you know what you want.
We feel the same.
Yeah, like you can do it better than you can anything else. But it was not until the product came along and Steve and Alex were sort of talking about calling it Piccolo, and we're like, oh, like it's cute, but I don't really know where that's going. And then the idea of Frank from that old concept came back up, and we were looking at this stuff. We're like, it looks like dirt. It's very simple ingredients. It's in a brown paper bag. Like, there's no BS here. No bells and whistles. Let's just be honest and let's be frank. And so that's how the whole concept came back to life. Yeah.
And it's always a tricky one. People say, what's more important, product or brand? And you have to have an awesome product.
Yeah.
But you also have to have an incredible brand. Like, you can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
And I think our success is that we have both. We have this product that works, that does what it says it's going to do. And then we created this whole story behind it, and it stands for something more. And that's something else we talk a lot about, is that we've obviously had a lot of copycats. and people can copy your product, but they can't copy your brand.
Yeah. Well, I think people have tried to
they've
copy
definitely
your
tried.
tone of voice as well, because you guys kind of started that whole like the product is a person and has a personality. And, you know, being influencers at that time, we started to get sent products from other brands that were like, hi, I'm a soap or whatever it was. And we were like, well, we know where they got that from. Yeah. Like, how did that kind of feel that you kind of came up with that and then people were running with it?
At the time when we were younger, you know, the first few times you get a bit defensive, but now that we're older, you know, it's flattery, really.
Yeah, and I don't think that we were the first people to personify anything. Like, that is a thing that people have been doing. But I mostly found it weird when it just didn't make sense. Like, there was no person's name, but then it was talking in first person. I'm like, what idiot? Like, I just don't understand how language works. Like, this makes no sense. You got a chair that's called Potato, and it's like, I'm a chair called Potato. Like, it just, why?
Chairs don't talk.
Yeah, and I'm like, then the copyright, like, we're copywriters by trade, so then that would just grind my gears more than anything.
Yes.
Now I let it go. It's okay.
Yeah. So I guess like we know so many people that start businesses and things, and like Steph mentioned, you know, it's all about this great product. And I think like where people feel really daunted is on that branding side, and it seems to just be forgotten about. And it feels like you need to have both sides. I know we've definitely felt that a lot with our brand Tubes.
Even like when we were starting Tubes, like we knew that the brand needed to be awesome, but like coming up with this logo and this tone of voice, like it's you know, you guys obviously that's what you're so good at, but when you're more entrepreneurial or more product focused, it's hard to kind of like even know where to begin with that stuff.
Or even like more creative, like a lot of like up and coming fashion brands. Like we love to see like so many awesome emerging designers in Melbourne, and they're so talented at making product, but then it's like they're missing that other side, like the soul to their business. So I guess like we were really interested in like, you know, where do you even begin? Like if someone's like coming to you and they're like, I have this product, I don't know how to find my brand.
Yeah. I guess the place we always start with is the customers. So really knowing who you're talking to, and whether that's someone, an area that you have access to, if you're a celebrity or an influencer, or if that's a customer you understand or a customer that you think is underserviced, and really honing in not just on how much money they have or, you know, what level of education or where they live, but really what they value. So we look at, what drives them and what drives their purchase decisions. And obviously that's very, very different depending on location and your status and everything like that. But there's certain segments that value certain things. And if you can really tap into that and think about what makes them tick, I think that's the best place to start.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, kind of defining who your customer is, because so many people just kind of like go out and start something and miss that step. And they're just kind of like, oh, got to design something cool. But I think without that kind of like integrity of really understanding your customer, you're not really building anything for anyone specific in mind.
Yeah, and a lot of people think about what they like, and it's one of our pet peeves is personal bias, and something that we're constantly trying to overcome ourselves and trying to instill in our team. It's not like, oh, I don't like purple, or I don't think I like that smell. It's like, what do our customers like? If you don't like hot pink, that's fine. But, you know, our audience profile says they love hot pink.
Yeah.
So let's go for it.
Yeah. I think it's like always about removing your ego from the work, and that's what we talk about all the time. And we had to go through this realization that as we grew as a brand, our customer had actually changed quite a bit. And we were trying to force this type of content towards her, and it wasn't resonating because it wasn't what she's interested in. And we're like, there's a lot of self-reflection involved in like, oh, I made the wrong decision. I was doing that for my own reasons and not for really good commercial reasons. And it's a hard realization to have.
We actually had that exact same situation where like because we started out like as a blog through How to Live, and what we were doing was really resonating with like younger girls. So then when we decided we were coming out with a footwear brand, we were like, oh, like it'll be for those same younger girls. But then that was 5 years later, and they had kind of grown up and we had kind of grown up. So we went through this like push and pull kind of period where we were like, who the hell are we even trying to market these shoes to? We don't even really like them. Like, so people our age aren't going to like them, but like the younger people, we don't get them. Like they're in a whole other generation. And we kind of had to relook at things. And you're right. Like it definitely takes like looking at yourself and kind of like taking the ego out of it and being like, what are we actually trying to achieve here?
I think another mistake we made was that like we were like, everyone should have these shoes.
Same.
Yes.
So like you're just like, I want this to be the biggest thing ever, so everyone has to like it. And then we were like, oh wait, but no one likes it. And that's when, you know, we went kind of through that like customer defining point where we were like, no, let's like focus on people that are just really gonna absolutely love them and grow it from there.
Yeah, we were exactly the same. We were like, this is skincare for every babe, and there's something about when you're playing in this space for natural products that you want it to be suitable for everybody, but as soon as you try to be everything to everyone, you end up with a diluted message that resonates with nobody. So we started getting very segmented and looking at the benefits of the products and the ingredients and I guess different segments of the market that would actually resonate with it, and we've seen a lot more success since we started doing that.
Yeah, I think that's something you guys do so well, like obviously tapping into that vegan market and being really specific with your message.
Well, even with that in the beginning, we were like, okay, so to vegan people, they're vegan shoes, but then to like other people, they're animal friendly shoes, and to be, you know, like we were kind of like,
we were trying to do it all.
We were trying to do it all, and
silly,
very silly. And I guess like with Frank, like when you look at it, like from the outside, you're like, yeah, anyone could have this product. But then when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, well, maybe someone wants $1 million diamond scrub. And then maybe someone wants to just pay $2 for something from Kmart. And so like, there's always going to be something that like, even though you can be for a lot of people, it's not going to be every single person.
That's exactly right. And I think that was just a bit of a wake-up call we had to go through. And what we're trying to work through with our team, and I think this is really relevant for other business owners, is to not always just rely on newness. Like you don't need to constantly release new products. Depends on the category. It's a little bit different in fashion. But for a brand like us, it's like you can utilize that same product and now look at a new message that you can give it and how you can like holistically market it to that segment that message resonates with. So you just kind of reinvent the wheel with the thing that you have.
Yeah, that's so interesting because with Tubes, we do have the same silhouette of the shoe, you know, every season. How do you kind of keep it fresh?
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
It really is. I think the other thing that's interesting to think about is what's your Northern Star, or like what's your mission and your purpose? And that's something that we help our customers at Willow Blake to come up with, and something that we've always had an idea of what we wanted at Frank, but actually writing it down, there's something so powerful about having it written down and making sure everything just isn't in your head. As founders, that's one of the other biggest mistakes we had. It was just us, the four of us, at the very beginning. And so we're like, we'll just do what we want and it's fine. It's in our head. I know the vision. But then when you start getting more team members involved, when you start bringing in external partners, when you start going into retailers, it's not enough for it just to be in your head. It has to be translatable. So it has to be written down and something that other people can understand and then replicate, because otherwise the brand just gets diluted. And so going through that process and actually documenting what you stand for, who you are, and what your mission is I think really important.
It is. And it's been so important to onboarding our team properly. And even then, like when we're making decisions, because it's really easy, like when you're trying to do NPD and you're focused on growth, you're like, okay, we'll go over here.
What's
and then
NPD?
New product development. Sorry. I'm talking acronyms now. My mum's always like, what do you mean? You didn't actually say any
What's
real
the
words
CPA?
in that sentence. It's really easy to get distracted. And so it's like we come back to it like, okay, our goal is to be the biggest Australian beauty brand in the world. Is doing X going to get us there? No. Kill it and go back over here to the stuff that's actually going to work.
So it kind of like helps you look at things and prioritize them, and like gives you a checklist to be like, should we be spending our time on this? And it's easy to get caught up in like exciting opportunities, but I guess if they're not kind of going to take you further towards that Northern Star, it might not be the right thing.
That's exactly right.
That's so interesting, because I think everything you guys do, when we were kind of chatting about Frank, we were like, they're so true to their brand. You know, like everything that you see Frank puts out there is so Frank. Like I saw on Instagram, you were like, oh, we're chatting with a sex therapist, send in your sex questions. And I was like, oh, genius, like so Frank. And like, is that how, do you kind of like constantly come back to like that vision? Is that how you kind of like are always making those decisions and making sure that they're staying true to Frank?
Yeah, definitely do. And we have our guiding principles as well. And I guess on that, one of them is risk it for the biscuit, which is also my life motto. And I think that's something that's really important for us at Frank, is that when we launched this brand, we didn't want to be the same as all the other natural beauty brands that were a bit more soft and lovely. We wanted to be bold and sexy. And it's something that can sometimes be scary. You're like, you know, we do have a younger audience, or there's a conservative audience, and if we start talking about sex on our Instagram, is that okay? We're like, yes.
It's a
That's
normal part of life.
fine.
That's how we all exist. Yeah.
One of my favorites, one of the girls, are like, can I put the word vagina on Instagram? I'm like, yes. Yes, you can.
Yeah, it's always scary when you're like stepping out and doing something like that. And like the worst thing that was going to happen was that people didn't like it. But then it's turned out for the best where people love and totally embrace it.
Sorry, it was orgasm, not vagina.
It was.
But vagina's allowed too.
Vagina's also allowed, and orgasm. All natural, all healthy. Go for it.
For us, it's really about giving accountability to our team as well. So we don't make those day-to-day decisions for them. Like the content for social doesn't even sit with us anymore. We do brainstorms and we set the themes like for the marketing calendar for the month, and then we really have our team roll it all out. But if they're ever unsure about anything, we go back to that, like, this is the goal, is doing that going to get you there, and sort of really get them to answer it for themselves. And it's the best thing. Like, it makes them feel, I guess, a lot more empowered. They're really in charge of what they're doing. And then for us, it takes one of the million decisions that you have to make every day off your plate. So it's a good tip for everyone.
Yeah, good one. So, and then like, you know, obviously, I guess like people look at brands that have so much budget and they're like, oh, like they can afford to, you know, get Will and Blake on board or get another branding agency on board. And it can be daunting because they're like, I only have a limited amount of budget.
Yeah.
So like, are there like some simple things that you feel like brands could implement that like would just kind of have the biggest impact where it's not like a lot of dollars spent?
Yeah, it's a tough one because, I mean, we didn't have a huge budget when we started Frank or Willow, but what we did spend, we spent on the things that we couldn't do ourselves. And it's really easy to downplay things like brand and copywriting because you're like, I exist, I can write, I'm an adult. Doesn't mean you can write like a copywriter.
True.
So we're not operations experts or finance experts, so we have other people that do that stuff better. And I think it's not looking at those things as an expense, it's looking at them as an investment in your business. And if it's something that you're really passionate about, it's like hustle, work, like we worked extra jobs. Like sometimes you actually just have to really dedicate a bit of money towards those things. But it doesn't mean you have to do the best of the best every time. And like even at Willow, we understand what it's like as a small business and a startup. And so we try to tailor packages to clients that are a little bit leaner. It means you just don't get like the full amount of work, and then we can hand over it to the client to roll it out. But I think it's a mindset thing, and think of it, yeah, like I said, as more of an investment.
I think it's so awesome to hear you say that because I think for people starting out, they often do have a little bit of budget and they're happy to kind of like hustle and work harder to be able to invest in something, but they don't know where to put that money. So I think it's really cool to hear it from you guys and hear it from, you know, starting Frank, that like if you are, you're so right, because I think copywriting or just like basic like website and product copywriting, people just do it themselves because they're like, oh, I can do this.
Yeah,
but if
I can speak English.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
makes me qualified for the job.
Yeah.
And just like investing that little bit in that, you know, like the website and the product that you're going to be able to use for years to come. It's such an awesome investment and it's so important and can really make or break your product and your branding.
Definitely. I think imagery is the same. That was the other area that we really invested in, was high quality campaign imagery.
Funny that you say that because that was our next question.
It's like we're on the same page. And again, it's one of those things, everyone's a photographer these days, but if you're going to do it, just go to that little bit of extra effort, you know, make sure you find a nice background, spend some time styling, make sure the lighting's right, make sure the photo's in focus. Drives me crazy when things aren't in focus. And if you can invest, you know, get local photographers, get local models. It can be your friends. Like when we first started, we used our legs, you know, we didn't really use our faces, but we used our bodies. We're like, you can save an extra few $100s that way.
Oh, we're still our own shoe model. Like if you go on tubes.com, like we have models in our campaigns, but then we're like, we have feet, we can do this.
Sexy feet.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, why would we spend an extra $500 if we could just jump in and do it ourselves?
Yeah.
And I guess like campaigns for us is also something that like we used to not spend a lot of money on because we were like, oh, you know, we can just like throw it all together and slap them on the website and it will be fine. And we got the advice that we should be like really taking the time to like help create the brand story. Stephanie's a copywriter, so like our copy has always been amazing, but then
I'm not as good as you guys, but like I
She's
get
great.
by.
I've seen your copy.
Yeah.
she's pretty freaking great. But it's funny because then it didn't even occur to us that our imagery should match that.
Yeah.
And like hearing you talk about it seems so obvious if you know, but how do you know?
I think it's about like finding iterations of things too. Like if you go back far enough, the first Frank website is so embarrassing. It was terrible. But like we got that up there, we got a few sales coming in, and then we made it a little bit better and we made it a little bit better. So as long as you've always got the idea of like, even if you start at a place that you don't think is absolutely amazing, use the money that comes in to get there. I think that's just the easiest way to look at it.
And I think so many people are perfectionists and they hold it and they're like, no, I'm not going to release it.
They never launch.
Exactly. You never launch. Whereas you just kind of have to be like, you get to like 60, 70% and you're like, this is going to do for now. You need to get it out there and start getting the feedback and the initial sales in order to get it to the next level, or you're never going to get it there.
Yeah, exactly. I think if you're going to put the time and energy into creating campaign content, you just have to know why. Like we'll have clients that'll come to us at Willow and they're like, okay, we want to create a video. And we're like, okay, where's it going? They're like, I don't know. I'm like, why the fuck would you want to spend $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 creating a video that you don't have a purpose for? Like, so we go back to that. Okay, what are we trying to achieve? Is it sales? Is it brand awareness? What channels will we put it on? Just like basics of a marketing and channel plan. And you'd be surprised how many people don't do that. And like you can find that stuff on the internet. Those templates exist for free. So just start there before you go to an agency and you can end up wasting a lot of time and money.
Yeah, that's awesome advice.
Just like have an outcome and ask yourself why you want to create this.
All the time. Yeah.
Yeah, because just like with the product, like unless you have that base and you know what you're trying to achieve, what you end up creating won't be actually true to the brand. You're just going to end up with like a whole bunch of stuff everywhere.
Exactly.
We've been so guilty of doing that.
Yeah, I know.
And so have we. Like we did it too, and it's only we've learned by doing over the course of 10 years. So we've made mistakes tons of times.
Oh yeah, same. Like plenty of like events that we've done, and then we're like, the day before running around and we're trying to get people there because not enough people have RSVP'd, and then we're like, why the hell did we do
why
this?
Would we do this?
Yeah, exactly. And then we like just get our friends there because we're like bums on seats. It's like for what purpose?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. So you touched on social media there, and one of the things we actually wanted to ask you about was like, Instagram and whether it's something that you guys still manage, because when you started out with Frank, it was like so revolutionary and your content was amazing, and it's still like we were looking at it the other day and just like had us in like fits of laughter. Like it's so great.
Oh, that's nice.
But obviously the landscape has changed a lot from when you started till now. So what do you use Instagram for now?
Oh yeah, it has changed so much. And it's interesting you say that because we were so protective of the Instagram when we first launched. It was our baby, and we had such an aggressive social media strategy. We posted every hour on the hour.
Yeah, basically almost
every
24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So we had like alarm set. Someone would wake up at 2, someone would wake up at 3. You're on a date. It's Christmas Day. You're trying to shower. You're hanging out. You're posting. It was just out of control.
Oh my God, this was obviously scheduling
tool.
Pre-Instagram and pre the algorithm. But we did that because we'd see a direct spike in revenue whenever we posted. And it's just not like that anymore. It's changed so much. And so for anyone starting out now, it's a lot harder to build that following, and a lot of it is pay to play now, just like it happened with Facebook. So obviously we have an organic strategy and we also have a paid strategy, and they go hand in hand. Jess and myself, we don't do the day-to-day posting anymore, even though we still probably micromanage it a little bit.
But no 4 a.m. alarms.
But no 4 a.m. alarms. No, we have an incredible team that do everything from content creation to the actual strategy to the posting to the community management. And the way we look at it is, I guess, twofold. Obviously, it's about engagement, which is now another whole challenge with the likes going away, but looking at the comments and looking at that communication, and then looking at how those people do translate to our website. So what posts are generating traffic? And we actually just ran this awesome challenge called the Frank Feedback Challenge. And the whole purpose of that campaign was to get our customers to establish a routine. So we all have these products in our shelves that we just don't use. And if you don't use the product, it's not gonna work. And so the whole idea was just pick one product and use it as directed for 4 weeks. Yep. And the results that we got from our customers were amazing. We established a Facebook group, and it was all that conversation that people were having, talking about how they were using the product, the results they were seeing. And then at the end of it, we got like, how many before and afters?
I think we had about 500 people sign up to the challenge. Yeah. And then I think so far we've got 50 or 60 incredible, this is my skin before, this is my skin after in 4 weeks.
That's so cool.
Yeah, because we all have that habit, right? You buy stuff, it sits on your shelf, you're like, that didn't work. Because I never opened it.
Totally.
And just giving them simple advice. We were in the Facebook page all the time with them, talking about things that we do and just helping them drink 3 liters of water today. I'm going to check back in with you tonight and see if you did it. Like, just simple stuff that we've found has been really helpful for us if we're struggling with anything.
And so it sounds cliche, but we do really see social as a way to build a community and to encourage that two-way conversation. And that's something we've talked about from the very beginning, is that social is just that. It's social. It's not just us talking at our customers. We want them to talk to us and to feel involved in the brand. Yeah. And I think that's the nicest thing about the page. You go there and you feel part of this community.
Yeah. And I think
so great. And also, like what you mentioned about that challenge, like when I'm listening to you talk about it, I'm like, holy shit, that's so clever. But it's actually a very simple idea at its core that like anyone could come up with. But like, you know, to create a Facebook group and kind of like start talking to your community and have them feel so connected with you in that way, like that's genius.
It is pretty genius. And I'm really interested to know, you know, like we look a lot at, you know, we also the same, we use social media to build up our community, but then we run a lot of ads through like Facebook and Instagram. But then another thing for us that's been really great is building up our email database. Yeah. Is that something that really works for you guys too?
Definitely. And it, for so many reasons, obviously we've got people there that we can talk to on a daily or weekly basis. But then the best thing that we do with our emails is survey the customers. And so at the start of the year, we did that and we got back a list of all of the questions that we needed answers to. And then that formulates the whole marketing plan. Like for us, the reason we did the Frank Feedback Challenge is because we got the survey results that showed our customers weren't using the product enough. They're like, we're using it once a fortnight, once a month. And we're like, okay, so frequency of use is an issue. We need to put that into our marketing calendar and the team need to come up with an idea to solve that. So it's not, it might look like sometimes it's like, cool idea, that was cool, but it's usually always to solve a problem. And I think that's where people can go wrong. They're just trying to come up with ideas, but they're not trying to solve problems. And that's something that, again, like we learnt over time. So if you can survey your email database, it's like a wealth of information.
And reading all the reviews, that's the other thing. I wish we had to put reviews on our website when we first launched. It's one of those kick myself things that we didn't put them on for ages. And now we have heaps and they're incredible because that's, again, how we kind of launched was this whole Frank feedback or this hashtag the Frank effect, and those peer-to-peer reviews are so powerful. Obviously influencers are really useful and celebrities are great, but if you get a recommendation from a friend, you're so much more likely to trust that. And these days people do read the reviews, and that's what I do when I go to buy anything, whether it's skincare, whether it's clothing, whether it's booking an Airbnb. I read the reviews and see what people have said. And so encouraging that community is really, really important.
Yeah, and that's so simple to just like install. Like I think we have Yotpo on our website that plugs into Shopify. Yeah. Like it's super simple to do. Exactly. And we didn't have it on our website until like earlier this year. And it's just like really cool to get that feedback. And even when it's a negative review, opening up that line of communication with a customer that you can be like, oh, sorry, what went wrong? How can we fix that? You know, I'm really interested to hear more about the survey because we actually got that advice when we were on a startup program about a year in, and we hadn't really been talking to our customers at all. Yeah. And someone said to us, you know, you've got these customers, like reach out, ask them what's going on. So we ended up sending this survey and we said to people, are you available for a Skype session with us? We're the founders of the brand. And if not, could you do the survey? So we found a lot of people were like, no, but I'll do the survey because it seemed like the lesser. Yeah. And we did speak to some people as well. And it's something we don't do enough of, I think. Yeah. You know, like we're always like, oh, we should survey again, but we never do. Like what kind of things were you asking customers in the survey?
We had a few hypotheses that we wanted to test out. And so we had, in skincare, a lot of the conversation over the last few years has been don't ever talk about like, fix this problem, do that. It's like, you are beautiful no matter what, which we all know, right? Like everyone's babe, that's been a part of our brand philosophy. But I don't think that people buy skincare products because they don't want them to do anything. Like there's a reason that we buy this stuff. And so we were really trying to test the hypothesis of like, okay, do our babes want this product to just make them feel good? Do they just want a bit of self-care time, or are they trying to potentially help it with one of these problems? And so let's stop making assumptions as a team. Let's ask them. And so we put that question in there and we got the answer back, which was what we thought. They're looking to solve a problem and it's just an added benefit that it makes them feel good. So it was about like, okay, what things are we making assumptions about that we don't have any data backing up? It's just our gut, and then test that. And then just basic stuff like, how old's our customer? I don't know. How old's our customer? Yeah, cool.
And we were the same as you. We assumed she was young because that's who we started with, but the brand's 6 years old now and they've grown up with us. So yeah, they're older than we thought. They want our products to do something, and they're a lot more price conscious than what we thought.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because we look at our product and we think it's really affordable because obviously we use really high quality ingredients. They're all natural, and our cost of goods is decently high. But then for someone who doesn't earn that much money or doesn't spend that much money on skincare, our products are a premium price point. And we always talk about this idea of affordable luxury. And so showing value to our customers now is really important. These aren't just one-use products. This is a product that's going to last you a month.
Yeah. So I think if you're looking to do it, you have to really check yourself. And you're like, okay, what assumptions have we made about our customers? Let's put questions in there that can either prove us wrong or prove us right, and then let's use those answers to form our marketing plan. It's even informing our MPD. So we were, sorry, I did
acronym.
New
product development. Because we asked them about areas or like problems in their life that they were trying to solve. And so instead of just being about skin, it's like, are they stressed? Are they not sleeping? Like all these kind of like, let's just learn as much about them as we can. And it's been so helpful.
The other really good thing we did was actually get people to come into the office. To have that face-to-face communication.
Oh, cool.
Because obviously there's quantitative and qualitative data, but actually sitting down with someone and having a talk face-to-face, seeing how they interact with the product is so beneficial, or was so beneficial for us anyway.
So was that like your top customers or something that you invited in?
Yeah, basically. We just send out an email.
Yeah, asked them if they wanted to come in and basically sit with myself and Bree for a couple of hours. And we started at like 4:30 in the afternoon, and we sat there till like 7:30. We're like, we should go so everyone can have dinner. And we just learned so many valuable things. It was like back and forth conversation between everybody. It wasn't huge. We had like 20 people there, so there was enough information that everyone like could go away with something, but we could all talk to each other. Oh my god, we learned so much from that. Yeah.
So cool, because we all do just kind of make assumptions, and you're arguing with each other, and you're going, no, this is what it is, and then it's like, oh, actually, no, none of us know. Let's ask the people who can tell us. Yeah. It's such a simple thing that like you often just don't even think about
all the time.
Yeah, totally. And then like we were discussing about like Instagram and things, and the way that you kind of blew up on social media. And I guess like we love to kind of when we sit down with people who seem like we view as like the most successful, and so many people just like look up to you and think that like it's all roses. Like, did that kind of like blowing up on Instagram, was it like all good, or were there also like some hard challenges that came with that?
It was all good at first. And then I think the challenges started to come when the algorithm set in, and the expectation on us was that we would keep growing at the same rate in a completely different landscape, and it was impossible to do. And we felt so much pressure to be able to keep growing at that exponential rate that we had been. And we're like, what's wrong with us? We can't do this anymore. Like, we're failures. Like, the self-doubt was real and big. And we just kept trying to like shove a square peg in a round hole, make the things that had worked before keep working, and they just didn't. And so then it was like, all right, now we have to come up with a second strategy that does what the first strategy did. Like, how do you do that? You can't win twice. And it took us a long time. I reckon for a good 2 years there, we really struggled with social.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's one of those things you don't talk about as much, or you don't see. It's like, oh, they've got all these followers on Instagram, and you're like, yes, but we've worked our arse off to get them. It's not just about posting pretty pictures. And as our team gets bigger and bigger, there's a lot more pressure on Jess and myself, because it's not just us and our lives. What we do affects everyone else.
Totally.
You're like, okay, I have to make this work, because if we don't have sales coming in, how am I going to pay these people? How am I going to pay for this office that we're sitting at and these computers? And that pressure, it really builds up.
Yeah, I can imagine that like having a business and like people like depending on you in that landscape would be really tough, because I know like just from the two of us, like we also kind of like hit like a huge following really quickly, and then when the algorithm changed, we didn't work through it. We tried for a while, but it got to a point where we were like, this is too hard.
We were the
we're not posting
like,
anymore.
I'm done. Yeah.
We were fully done. Like, we were just like, it's ridiculous. We don't understand this.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's such a public thing as well. Like, everyone can have an opinion on social media.
Yeah, and you feel like everyone's watching, and everyone sees that like you're not doing as well as before, and that's like this crushing feeling.
Yeah, and then everyone's piping in with an idea, and you're like, oh, it's great, but we've tried it. And then you spend half your time explaining how you've already tried their idea and it didn't work. And yeah, it was a tough one. But I don't think we started to really see good success in that space again until we looked at it as it was no longer this one marketing channel. Like before it was like, we market through Instagram. And it's like, no, that doesn't work anymore. Now we need to do pop-ups in real life. What role do influencers play? What role does PR play? How do we do partnerships? Like, what do we do offline, outdoor advertising, podcast advertising, like all that kind of stuff all leads back to social growth. So you can't just like put nice content on social anymore. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, and like basically everything that you mentioned, we had wanted to ask you about.
It's like those are our next 2-3
bullet points.
questions.
Great.
Yeah. So I guess, well, you touched on like real life marketing, like eventing and things like that. Like, and that's something that you guys do so well, that as Steph mentioned initially, like whenever we're coming up with a concept, like definitely, you know, your amazing ideas come to mind. Like you had this sushi train thing on Chapel Street that was incredible. Is it you guys that come up with those ideas?
Sometimes it is. Like that was us saying, we want a sushi train, but make it pink. Like we just sort of had a visual for what we wanted our pop-up to look like. That was one of those real pinch me moments too. When we got there in the morning and there was like a line of 300 people around the corner, we just stood on Chapel Street and cried.
Oh my God.
Big babies. So sometimes it's us because I think we know the brand so well and we just know our customer, we know what will resonate. And then other times like, this is the problem, we've got a rough idea, but you guys will be able to make it better. And then the team come up with awesome ideas that we never could.
And are events now something that like every brand needs to be doing? Like, you know, now that Instagram, we used to just be able to like launch a brand on Instagram and it'll do well. But now that, you know, there's so much more to it, do you think every brand needs to be doing that?
I don't think so. I think if you're going to do an event, you can't just, as we talked about before, you can't just do it for fun. You know, it has to have a purpose. It has to have a reason behind it, and you have to plan it. Yeah, because you can't just expect to open a shop and people will come. So if you're going to open a shop, then you have to have a campaign beforehand to get people excited for the campaign, work out how you're going to tell them about it and get them to come down. Obviously we give away a whole lot of free stuff.
And like
that works.
That works.
That'll do it. And the thought behind that was like, we're a customer-led brand. They're the most important part of our business. We wouldn't have a business without them. And it was coming up to our 5th birthday and the team was sort of planning a big party that none of our customers would be able to come to. It was like all press and influencers, which is beautiful because they've obviously supported the brand. But then the customer is always left out. I'm like, no, take that budget and let's give it back to our customer. So that's where we, instead of spending $5,000 on champagne, you look at what you could do for $5,000 worth of stock and give it to all of the consumers that have supported you. And so that's how we kind of abandoned that, I think like 3 weeks before it was supposed to happen. The team looked at us like, I'm gonna kill you. But it worked. And then we got tons of press off the back of that and it was really good for social, and a lot of like our very important babes, our VIBs that have been part of the brand for ages came down and supported us as well. So it was, I don't know, it ticked a lot of boxes.
Oh, it was a really successful one. But yeah, to Jess's point, like for every successful campaign we've had ones that haven't really worked. And it's just those lessons that you learn along the way.
For sure. And I guess like that's really great advice that like, you know, every brand doesn't need to be doing events. It's coming back to that. I feel like we keep coming back to this same central concept of like,
why?
Exactly. Why are you doing it? Having a bit of a plan. And then if Instagram, you know, we can't rely completely on Instagram, but then there are so many other channels that people can be looking at. They don't need to be doing all of them. They just need to be finding the right ones for them. Actually, there's this really awesome book called Traction. Have you heard of it?
I haven't, no.
And he identifies like something like 14 potential traction channels and takes you through how you can like test each of them with like really little budget and work out the 1 or 2 that really work for you and then go hard on those.
I like that. All right. I'll get this book.
It's very good.
I think you can be really clever without money as well. And like, it's easy to look at that event. That was 5 years into our business. Like, we were running an event when we started. We had no money. Like, we were so scrappy. We're calling in favors from everybody that we know. I think that's when, if you have a history of building strong relationships, it comes in handy. And that's something that people don't look at until it's too late. And they're those type of people that are always asking for things rather than giving their time. It can come back to bite you in the ass later when you need help. So be a good person is number 1. And then you can, I think, having ideas and not letting money be the thing that solves your problem, but using your creativity and like brainstorming with people. Like you can do so much. Like how's the guy we were meeting with yesterday
who was smart,
looking at trying to get a creative role, and it was a really bad time to try and get a role in brand and ad agencies. So him and his creative partner set up this concept called Creative Ransom, where they bought the URLs for creative directors at a whole bunch of agencies and then sent them like a ransom note, like we're going to populate your URL with all of this really shitty content. Like how that costs no money, maybe like $4 for a URL. Like they just use their smarts, and I'm like, you're clever.
That's amazing.
So there's so many ideas like that exist.
Totally. Yeah, we actually did a podcast a couple of weeks ago on how to get scrappy, and like we just kind of like shared all the moments, because like even now, like, you know, we're 3 years into our business, but like still we don't have these huge budgets to spend. Like if we're doing a pop-up that's going to go for 3 weeks, we have no idea what the revenue coming in is going to be. Like we just can't afford to output like 10 grand on a fit out. So we'll like go to Kmart, we'll like get super scrappy. Like we came up with those cloche things with the sneakies that we got from IKEA, or made from IKEA. So yeah, we're always kind of like telling people that to not let money be the reason for not doing something, that like it almost pushes you to get creative like
it does.
further.
Exactly. I totally agree.
Yeah.
So you did mention influencers before, and we're interested to hear, are you guys still working with influencers? Is that still something that you're finding effective?
Yeah, definitely. And I think influencers or influential people will always be a part of the brand. It's changed a lot. When we first launched, we had a bit of a scattergun approach. We made this huge list and we just wanted to get product out basically in people's hands. And we didn't even ask for anything in exchange. We just literally sent them the product, and it was 6 years ago. So people, they loved it. They posted about it. It worked out well. These days, obviously, you can't just be sending out product to people randomly. You have to go through the proper processes, and that would be a huge waste because people just get sent so much stuff and there's already so much wastage. And so we're trying to do more with less. So establish those ongoing relationships with people that talk to the same customer base as us and work out how we can work together to really leverage both of our followings.
I think you have to assume that you're going to have like a 1% success rate.
Yeah.
So even though we do more with less, for each one of those people that we work with, you probably emailed 50. And when we started, like that list was thousands of people long, and that was just us emailing. And then we meet people, they're like, I don't know why my brand's not working, and they're like, I've emailed like 5 influencers. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like you need to be emailing 5 a minute. Like go lock yourself away for a week and it's all you do, because it's a volume game at first to introduce yourself to a bunch of people, and then you kind of have the luxury of refining it and working out how you work with people.
Even we still find that, like when we go into a new region, like in the UK or the EU, where we don't have that established brand awareness or those established relationships, we're like, okay, we're starting from scratch. And so yeah, as Jess said, it's like, let's build a list of 1,000 people and hope that 10% of them will get back to us.
Yeah. Totally. And I really like what you said there about like being strategic as well. Like you want the person or the influencer, whoever you're sending the product, to be excited about your product. So like sometimes, I mean, a lot of people have our address and they just send us so much stuff, and like, you know, it's wasteful at the end of the day, and like we can't promote it all, and like we end up feeling guilty.
Bad.
Yesterday I wrote to someone being like, it's so lovely, like they sent us magnetic lashes, and I was like, we both have eyelash extensions, we literally can't use them, like can we send them back to you so you can pass them on to someone who will use them? So I think like getting like influencers or people who are as excited about your product as you are about giving it to them is almost key, because they want to champion you.
Yeah, I think so too. And then doing your research as well. So like spend more time to be like, do these girls need magnetic eyelashes?
Yeah.
No, they don't. Let's not send it there. And like, so then it's that real struggle of like hitting volume, but being smart and doing your research. And I know those two things don't always make it easy. And in the reality, it means like sometimes you're pulling a 20-hour day to get stuff done, but it's what's required, especially in that launch phase. Like you have to work your ass off to get shit happening.
So the other thing that you happened to mention before was the going into retailers, which we were chatting about before, that we've recently kind of moved Tubes from being online only to being in David Jones and some other retailers. And you kind of had the same experience with Frank. Why did you go? You know, it seemed from the outside you had so much success online. What were the reasons that you decided to move into retailers?
Yeah, it was a big decision for us. I think Jess and myself are both comfortable saying we're control freaks.
Very much so.
And what was great about Frank was we had full creative control. So everything the customer experienced, from going to the website, reading about the ingredients, to how they received the packaging, we could control all of that and make sure it was awesome. When we were going into retailers, letting go of that was really hard for us. You know, our worst nightmare was that someone would go into the store and there'd be this poor, sad Frank pack crumpled in a corner.
Like fallen over.
And it's a fair enough like concern, because that's a lot of the advice you get given is like, no, you know, you've got to be able to control your brand. You don't want just someone out there discounting it, making it look shit.
Yeah, exactly. But if you're going to grow, you need to reach new customers. And there is something really tactile about the product. Well, obviously it's a tactile product. The way it smells, the way it looks, the way it feels, like it's such a beautiful experience. And you can't always experience that online. Like actually going into a shop is such a different moment. And so meeting Joe, who's the founder of Mecca, was one of the pivotal moments for us in feeling comfortable enough to let go of that control and trust another partner to help us grow our brand. And obviously they're similar customers, but they're very different. And as I said, it's a different customer experience. And we knew that if we were going to grow and reach new people, we had to try new things. So we launched obviously just with Mecca, and it worked out really well for us.
And then we continued to replicate that strategy. So we launched with Sephora in Europe and Ulta in the US.
So cool.
It was awesome. It added a lot of complexity to our business, which I know you guys are going through as well. And now, you know, when you're working online, you can release stuff like the next day. We're working with this calendar that's a year in advance.
Oh, yeah. We know the calendar.
The crossover period where you're doing both is it's hard, but you get through it.
Well, and for us, we're like, okay, so usually we would launch spring, summer around like October, November, but now
that's when it gets hot. That's when you should be selling
spring,
sandals.
summer. Yeah.
And now we're launching in September, and usually we stagger our drops as well. But we're like, well, if retailers are selling it, we need to be selling it. So now it's like this whole big, re-shifting the way you plan and think about things.
Yeah, we went through that. We still go through it. You know, we're kind of in that transition phase. And as we grow our team in the US, like fighting that communication issue between the teams, trying to shuffle timelines, like it's hard. And the other reason was really that we had a lot of these competitors popping up, and we were really conscious that even though we believed in the product so much that it would be very easy for it to become an Instagram fad and just like rise and die. So to add that layer of credibility and ensure the longevity of the brand in a time where social was changing a lot and we were really uncertain, like it makes a lot of sense to go partner with really premium brick and mortar retailers and solidify us as a credible player and separate us from these copycat brands.
That's so clever, because you're right. Like when kind of Frank like experienced that like huge rush of growth, there were a few other players, not in the same industry as you guys, but just like other brands that come to mind that I feel like rise and then fell. That you didn't, and that's a really clever way of going about that. I hadn't even thought of that side of it.
Yeah, I think we've got to credit Steve and Alex for that.
They did a lot of the grunt work.
They really did. Like I guess, get a lot of credit for the more fun and glamorous side of the business, but that wouldn't exist without people doing all of the operational and supply chain and product and finance work. It's, and it goes unloved, and I'm like, no, but we wouldn't be able to do this without those people. And I've got a team of nearly 40 now that really support us to be able to, I guess, even market the brand in the way that we want to.
But I think if there's anyone out there thinking about going into a retailer, make sure you do your research and reach out to other brands. Whenever we're looking to go into another retailer, if that's in the UK, we'll look at who they stock and we'll just reach out to the founders.
Oh, cool.
How do you find it? Like, you know, what are their payment terms? What were you able to negotiate?
That's so clever.
People are generally people really are happy to share, and like we're really happy to share because we're all on the same team. You know, we have this saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. You know, we're not competitors. We're a brand that plays nicely with others, and we just want everyone to succeed. And so if you don't ask the question, if you do ask the question, you might get an answer.
Amazing. I love that. We don't have any principles. We better go away and set some of those.
Yeah, so we whipped out like 5 of them, and I'm like, oh, when we do interviews, I want to be able to say ow.
Awesome. Well, guys, this has been amazing. Like, I feel like just jam-packed full of such useful information. Thank you so much.
For sure.
Thanks for having us. It's been fun.
Lovely.
Awesome. So we end all of our interviews on some quick fires, which are a bit of fun.
Funny.
Yeah. So we'll just start firing them at you. The first one is what's your dream collaboration? It could be like a person or a brand.
Ooh, for Frank?
Yeah.
Oh, God. That's a tough one.
I have to honestly say I don't know. I've been making one up.
Well, can I ask?
Oh, I've got it.
Oh, you've got it?
I actually think my dream collaboration would be if a customer completely developed the product from beginning to end.
That's such a good idea.
Oh, that's genius.
Maybe we should do that.
Yeah, we totally should do
Oh,
that.
I love if you do that and then it started right here on the podcast.
I'm like, that actually would make me so happy.
What about, I saw you guys did an event with the Fat Jewish, is that right?
We did,
for Babe Rosé.
That was funny.
That was hilarious.
That's
and again,
so cool.
that was just an email. Like I LinkedIn messaged the marketing manager of their team when I was in New York last August, and I was like, I'm here. You guys are doing cool things. There's a synergy in terms of the messaging. Like, you've just got to, like the other saying is, if you never ask, the answer is always no. So just don't feel like a dickhead.
Love
Ask
that
people.
one.
We did that. It's how we started Willow. It's how we started Frank. We were always just asking people for advice and then providing them feedback. So that was how that started.
That's amazing.
And it grew
You don't
into a
mind
collaboration.
You don't mind if we borrow that principle,
Go
right?
for it. Sharing's caring.
So what is your coffee order?
Well, I'm usually a 3/4 latte, but because I'm pregnant, I'm having a weak latte, which is just like a cup of hot milk. So I can't wait to actually drink normal coffee again.
That sounds sleepy.
Yeah, it really is. And you're on filter now, aren't you?
Yeah, I've always just drunk black coffee. So black coffee in its different forms. Milk is evil.
I love milk.
What's the first thing you do when you leave work?
If I leave, no. On a good day, it's like to find a separation between the office and getting home. So I will walk, and that's the first thing I do. And I try to put a podcast on that's unrelated to work. And I find I like to learn about things, and I don't just want to learn about business and beauty. So I'll listen to like obscure science podcasts, and that's my weird thing that I do when I leave work.
Yeah, mine's usually take my dog for a walk because I feel so guilty. We're lucky that we have a dog-friendly office, so often our dogs come to the office. But if they don't, I get home to a very excited Douglas, a little border terrier, jumping up and down. So I spend at least 5 minutes with him.
Oh, that's so nice. Is it me?
Yep.
What is your favorite body part on yourself?
My eyelashes.
You have beautiful eyelashes.
Yeah, those
That's
natural.
From my mama. Yeah.
Whoa, good
Thanks,
one.
babes.
Usually it's my lips, but at the moment, again, going on that, it's because I'm pregnant, my body has completely changed, and it's something I'm loving is having boobs and hips because I've always just been so straight up and down. And I was saying to Jess the other day, like, I have more stretch marks, I have varicose veins, I have cellulite, but I love my body more than ever because it's growing a human.
That's
that's
amazing.
so nice.
How cool is that?
Fun. And I get to feel like a woman.
Oh, you're always a woman. You look beautiful.
I love your guys' dynamic. So nice.
It's so cute.
The last question is, do you have a celebrity hall pass? Oh, or if you
Dan,
did, what would
turn
it be?
off now.
Oh, is that like a free ticket out of jail?
Out of jail.
I like Cillian Murphy. He's
Ooh, who's that?
He's from this show called Peaky
I'm
Blinders.
like, is this the Peaky Blinders?
But he kind of looks like my husband. So.
Okay.
Yeah, the beautiful blue eyes,
brown hair.
You have a type, obviously.
She does. Who's my hall pass?
I'm thinking people who look like Dan.
I know, right? I'm like, who's big and muscly that looks like Dan? I would totally go Chris Hemsworth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, good
Predictable.
And that's a kind of
Hasn't
realistic-ish
responded to my
one.
Instagram message.
He hasn't. Bree, in her attempt to get an answer by asking, messaged Chris Hemsworth on Instagram because we were going to Byron Bay for another friend's hens. She's like, do you want to come surfing with us?
He did it right back.
Oh my God.
Read
that's
it though.
I don't
Well,
know.
if you, what's the principle?
If you don't ask, the answer will always be no.
There you go.
Still
So-
no.
That's a great
Chris,
place
if
to
you're out
end.
Thank you so much,
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
Thanks, babes.
Thank you.
Bye.